Hello, and welcome to Title Talk in Real Estate in New York. I'm Brenda Posner, and today we have Adam Turk with us.
Good
So,
morning,
Adam,
Brenda.
nice to see you today. And tell us, everyone, a little bit about yourself.
Sure. A little bit about my background. I am basically a real estate nerd who happens to also be a real estate attorney. I'm really passionate about what I do. I love transactional real estate. I love being able to, walk down the streets, being able to look at different buildings, saying, all right, I did a deal on that one. I know a lot about that one. You wouldn't believe what's going on in that one. Things like that. So I really enjoy what I do. I like helping people buy and sell properties. I like getting into the nitty gritty of doing the due diligence and the actual closings themselves.
So, tell us about, are there any other areas of law that you practice other than real estate?
So for me particularly, I do not. I tend to focus on real estate, and I guess we'll talk a little bit about more why I feel that's pretty important point. But no, I deal with real estate, 24/7, but at this point, it's really more like 25/8.
Yeah, it's been busy. And are you familiar with new construction?
Very familiar with new construction. We actually I like to say we kind of cut our teeth in new construction. When we first opened our firm, new construction in terms of the legal end, it's probably about, 5 times the amount of work as a non-new construction. However, lawyers don't get to charge 5 times the amount of fees. So as we were growing our firm, we would get a lot of deals where people would go to some, very, very established lawyers, and we were not as established at the time. They didn't want to do new construction because it wasn't worth it for them. And then we would get a lot of those deals in. Now it's completely flipped. Now everyone does new construction. But yeah, so we're very familiar with new construction. We have very, very good relationships with a lot of the developers. When a building is built, sometimes the developer will actually come to us first, knowing that we're probably going to have a nice number of deals in the building. So it's easier to work with us that way.
Okay, super. So people would want to know, would you be the person working on their file, or would it be handled by a secretary or paralegal? How does that work?
Very, very good question. The answer is when you hire me, and when you hire any attorney, really, you should be getting that attorney. I can tell you, we're a very nice sized firm, and I have a incredible staff. I think the best in the business, but their job isn't to do the work. Their job is to support me doing the work. So when you hire me as an attorney and when you hire our firm, you're getting me. You're going to be able to talk to me. I'm going to be the one walking you through everything. Listen, that's not to say, again, like I said, I have fantastic staff helping me, but that's just it. They're helping me. They're not doing my job for me.
Okay. Yeah, that's so important. And what about your reply time to emails? Everybody's expecting things so quickly nowadays.
Yeah, so unfortunately, that's just the business we're in, especially when it comes to real estate. Transactional real estate, most of our clients, they have day jobs. In order for them to purchase these apartments, they are quite successful and quite busy. So it's pretty often that we have to talk outside of business hours. What I always tell my clients is, listen, I'm available whenever I can be. So feel free, and also more importantly, you might have a question come up, in the evening or something. Feel free to text me, feel free to email me. I absolutely do my best to reply, and I'm pretty good about it. But you should always feel free, I'm always trying to reply whenever I can, because also for my clients, when they have a question, until they get the answer, it's a lot of pressure, right? They're always feeling, oh my God, what's the answer going to be? So I absolutely try to get back to them as quickly as I can.
Yeah. So what about your legal fee? Does that include due diligence? And what does due diligence mean for people out there?
So another great question. So it's pretty standard that in transactional real estate that our legal fees are simply flat, right? We don't charge by the hour. I don't charge for phone calls. I don't charge for travel. It's sort of a soup to nuts fee. The only thing additional would be if I have to pay for something on your behalf, I'll simply pass along the cost. We don't add anything to it. What does due diligence entail? That is something you absolutely need to be asking your lawyer before you hire them, because there is no definition of what real estate due diligence should be, right? The perfect example is right now, especially since the pandemic, reading board minutes has become increasingly difficult, right? I think I read a statistic where it's like 75% of the real estate industry is back in the office. Well, I'm pretty sure that 25% consists solely of managing agents. They simply have not returned to the office. Getting these minutes read is very, very difficult. In terms of due diligence, 95% of the time, when you do read the board minutes, you're going to find nothing. They're going to be clean. But the problem is you don't get to go to your clients and say, well, on the other 95 deals I did, the board minutes didn't matter, so I didn't think I had to read them on yours. So when there's no cutting corners. You have to read the board minutes. You have to review the building's financials. You have to get the questions to your questionnaire answered. You have to review the contract. You have to review the offering plan as well, right? There's no cutting corners. And that's where I think a lot of lawyers get themselves into trouble because, like I said, 95% of the time, you're not going to have a problem. But if your deal is that 5%, you don't want to hear that. It's not an excuse.
Absolutely. So now talking about what your legal fee, covers and what you do, how much is your legal fee or,
Again, another good question. So our legal fee, it doesn't range that much, but it basically ranges upon a couple of factors. The main factor is what type of property are you buying, whether you're going to be financing or not. The purchase price itself doesn't have that much of a weight in terms of the legal fee, but the simple fact is the legal work for a $500,000 apartment, for a $5 million apartment, and for a $15 million apartment doesn't sway that much, right? We're still going to have to do full due diligence on everything. Just because, an apartment's not as expensive as the last one doesn't mean it's less important. Not at all. Now, with that being said, once you do get into the upper echelon, obviously, the risk is a little higher. So we do charge a little bit extra for that. But I like to think, our legal fees are right up there, very fair, ranging anywhere, between, I would say 3 to 5. And if the apartment is incredibly, incredibly expensive, might be a little bit more. If it's not, a very, set in stone deal, if there's some, what we like to call hair on the deal, if there are other issues involved, we may charge a little bit extra for that. But yeah, we're certainly, I'm not in the business of nickeling and diming clients and trying to get every penny out of them.
Yeah, that's always important to know. People have to understand this. And now, do you and your firm have professional liability and fidelity bond coverage?
Another very good question. So a lot of people don't realize this is in order to be a licensed attorney, you actually don't need to be insured, right? Like when you go to a doctor, you don't say, hey, by the way, do you carry malpractice insurance? You just assume it. Many lawyers simply do not. You do not have to have insurance. And so part of my practice is we actually represent financial institutions. We represent a lot of banks. Banks won't work with us if we don't have specific types of insurance. But when you're only dealing with purchase and sales, that's not the case. Insurance is expensive, and a lot of smaller firms simply don't absorb the cost or don't think they need it. They have it in their head, well, I'm not going to make a mistake, so it doesn't matter. Obviously, that's not the mentality they should have. And also, more importantly, not only do they have insurance, but they might not have adequate insurance. Like for many small firms, they're only going to be written a policy for, let's say, $1 million or $2 million, which seems like, okay, that seems like a lot of money. But if you're buying a $3 million apartment and something goes wrong, that means your lawyer is simply underinsured. So you should always ask if they carry I could tell you in my career, I think I've been asked that question maybe 4 times. And obviously we have the insurance, so it's not an issue and we simply just answer it. But I think it's something that people don't realize that they actually need to ask their lawyer. In terms of fidelity bond, so what is a fidelity bond? Fidelity bond protects the lawyer in case their employees will steal from them. So for instance, as lawyers, right, we hold a lot of escrow money. So let's just say one of my employees somehow manages to go and steal my escrow money. That wouldn't be covered under my professional liability insurance. I didn't do anything wrong as a lawyer. So you need to have, especially if you're the one holding the money, you need to have a fidelity bond as well. And that's absolutely something that you should be asking any lawyer before hiring them.
Great. I mean, Adam, great questions, answers. That was so interesting, so informative. People need to know this stuff when they're getting into a purchase of what's likely their biggest transaction.
Exactly. Like a lot of things, like I always like to say, especially in terms of lawyers, like I said before, I'm a transactional real estate attorney. Like, why do I feel like that's important? Well, 2 things. One, people don't realize when you graduate law school, you're absolutely useless as a lawyer. You don't know how to do anything. And the problem is they literally give us a license to do anything. That whole idea is kind of crazy, right? Like, think about it. You know, as a doctor, right? When you graduate medical school, they don't just say, hey, go open your medical practice and you can be any type of doctor you want, right? You have to go through training. You have licensing things. That's not the case with lawyers at all. Once you get your legal license, you get to open up your practice the next day and you can say, all right, on Monday, I'm going to be a tax attorney. On Tuesday, I'll be a trust and estates attorney. You know, on Wednesday, I'm going to be a litigator. And on Thursday, that'll be my real estate day. The whole concept of that is kind of crazy. And transactional real estate also is different because when you hire a lawyer, like normally when you ask a person on the street, you say, well, why do I need to hire a lawyer? They're going to tell you, well, I have a problem. I'm in a fight. So I need to hire a lawyer and I need to win and the other guy needs to lose. Transactional real estate is one of the few types of law where that's actually not the case. Sure, there's a lawyer on the other end, but it's one of the few types of law where our goals are actually aligned. Their client wants to buy or sell. My client wants to buy or sell. So it's not about fighting each other. Sure, we have to protect our client. That's absolutely, goal number one. And we do that. But we can protect our client without fighting with the other person, right? It's not like we have to win and they need to lose. Everybody gets to win in these situations. And that's really why I actually enjoy practicing real estate law because, we get to actually, sort of interact with the other lawyer in a peaceful manner. We're not fighting the whole time. We're just figuring out how to get the deal done.
Yeah, it's very true. Thank you so much, Adam, for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you very much, Brenda. Thanks for having me.